Roll Up to Win is back.
Yeah,
it's back. Woo! And by the way, it's Canada's favorite contest, and it includes $1,000 Rakuten cash prize giveaways, all electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz, and even the simple joy of winning a free coffee or a donut or an unforgettable vacation to San Diego from Sell Off Vacation. It's not actually San Diego.
It could be.
It could be.
You never know.
If you want to go to San Diego.
I could be so easily bought because, like, I would love to go to San Diego. I want a car, but I'm like, ooh, a donut.
Donut be nice.
The ATV looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere I would use it or store it or do anything with it, but it'd be cool.
You know what you can use whenever? A donut.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Volkswagen ID buses, by the way?
I have. Yeah, they're wicked.
So cool. They're so cool.
wicked.
It's like the 60s Volkswagen bus, but upgraded to an electric engine. We love that. Yeah, it's exciting.
Very hip.
So listen, all you have to do, download the Tim's app. You got till March 23rd to do it. Open the Tim's app and get rolling. This is our game, Canada. So don't let this chance at millions of amazing prizes pass you by with Tim Hortons until March 23rd. Let's start the show.
SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Hello there. It's been a consequential few days for SDPN, old SDPN.
Why?
What
What happened?
Oh, we had
Have we? This is how crazy it's been. I had to actually ponder to myself this morning. Have we done a podcast since being on TV?
No, we have not. No, we have
I
not.
could have sworn we did.
No, it hasn't
That's
happened. So for anybody that missed it, we were on Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey. Very, very exciting. We got to do an opening segment before the game started. We got to do some intermission stuff. We got to hang out in the truck. So we'll talk about that a little later. I know you want to hear about hockey, but it was very, very cool. And thank you to everybody who watched and reached out. The messages were extremely kind. And just know that we wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for you. We're not there if you're not watching this show. So I just hope you know how much we appreciate you as well. So let's get into what feels like the most frozen, boring, stale trade deadline of all time.
I hate that attitude.
Why do you
I hate it
give
too.
me
that attitude.
Tell me
I hate it
why.
too,
Tell me
Adam
why.
Wilde.
I think Mikko Rantanen being traded is consequential. I think months of Elias Pettersson and JT Miller punching each other in the face and then one of them being traded is consequential. Yep. There have been a lot of deals. Like the Rangers have made 1 million deals already when they moved out Trouba in the fall. Like we've had a season's worth of deals already. Just because these upcoming days aren't the Mikko Rantanen trade doesn't mean we didn't already have those.
And I think I know what Adam's saying, though. Adam's saying those things already happened.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm talking about the deadline.
Sure.
Now,
What happens before a storm?
The comp?
The calm. And that's what
Wow.
we're in right now.
You think
we're going to
so?
have a flood. We always do. We
now,
always have
Jesse.
a flood of deals on Fridays.
have you been cruising Yarm 80 plus? you really got that pirate attitude
Why?
right now. Oh, just
Sailing for the
You're
storm.
talking about sailing the seven seas and calm before the storm. And you got any other old man adages
No,
to add to
I'm
the
out.
show?
I'm
No, here's the thing. I understand what Adam's saying.
Yeah.
I also, this is a good transition into something that I'm getting increasingly more mad at BRAAD about. BRAAD! Oh, man, there's not many sellers. So trade with someone else. You're allowed to trade with non-selling teams.
In
Is
fact,
this everyone's first day?
There's a lot of non-selling teams who are wanting to trade.
Yes. Do you need a forward? Do you have some D? Okay, I bet there's a team out there that has the opposite of what you have and would like to make a deal. Are there no hockey trades out there? Like Spencer Knight, Seth Jones is not a trade deadline deal, even kind of.
No, that's a quote unquote hockey trade.
That's a hockey ass trade.
Yeah, but so would you have preferred that they waited till Friday?
No.
Like,
No.
I don't think it makes a difference that trade happened over the weekend as opposed to like we push it a couple days or like a trade happens today. We should all be upset because we don't get the trade on Friday.
This
I don't know.
This is what I talk about every deadline is, a team is interested in, I don't know, some guy who has 25 goals, a right winger with 25 goals, and then they don't get him. And so they go, welp. And they just go about their lives. What? No, you were in the market you needed that guy. You needed him yesterday, and you just decided, welp,
So
go out and get another guy.
With Braden Shen, who's reportedly off the market now.
That's fine.
That St. Louis is getting close. Toronto wanted him. So now that they didn't get him, they still want him. So you're saying go out and get somebody else.
You can't just go welp.
But Toronto's in a position where they could. I don't think it's the smart thing to do. But if they want to just be like, we believe in our roster, and one of those attitudes, those post-trade line press conferences where Brad Stockton was like, you know what, we believe in the guys in the room. That's why we didn't make any deals. There's nothing out there.
And
I would be really upset if we get that on Saturday.
Oh boy,
or Friday afternoon.
This is on one of my increasingly favorite subreddits, Hated Trope. Hated Trope of GMs who didn't get anything done
Yes.
on trade deadline day. They go, we like our group. That's a hated trope, but even worse. Now, all those rumors, that was more you guys putting that out there, pointing to the media. Small e, big E, small e, big E, dia. You failed! They weren't lying! You were going out there and trying to get guys, and then you didn't. We want Braden Shen. Oh, that's too much. Darn. Okay, move on. Who's next? Scott Lawton. What's the price? Don't like it. Too much. All right, move on. Who's the next guy?
Jake Evans.
Resign.
Locked up.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Who's the next guy?
Johnny Gord.
You're acting like those are the only players in the friggin' league. Pick up the phone and make a deal. Gosh darn it.
And it doesn't have to be on Friday. Get it done today.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy with that.
Yes.
It would be nice.
Yes.
And, you know, the needs remain the same. Jeremy Rutherford posted an article about how the Shen and the Blues are handling the deadline right now. And essentially, it doesn't say one way or the other if it's going to happen, but it does sort of lend itself to what kind of message, if the Blues are very close to making the playoffs, does it send to trade the captain?
The Blues are currently 3 points out of a playoff spot.
And there are two models. There are two models that have, you know, that the hockey community relies on that Jeremy cites in the article: Money Pucks and Doms. Dom has them at 10% to make the playoffs. Money Puck has them at 24% to make the playoffs. And
You're telling me only 10% of the time a team 3 points out with 20 games to go?
I don't know how the model works on that. I'm just telling you what he said in the article.
Yeah, okay,
but so I can understand why the Blues are like, no, we don't want to sell. But if they miss,
I'll be honest, okay? Leaf fan. Okay, now dropping that. Neutral. They shouldn't sell.
okay,
The St. Louis Blues should not sell. They should try. Listen, sometimes you go for a playoff spot and you miss and you look stupid. That's not the Blues. You don't need to trade Braden Shen. What are you doing?
right.
Or Parayko or anybody really. Like, do they have any expiring guys?
They should trade Faxa.
Faxa and Suter.
Suter's, I think, too useful right now for them to maybe trade him.
Oh my God.
But they should probably trade him.
Faxa, I want to collect Alan Walsh clients like Infinity Stones. So like we could get him. That's about it. Like
Yeah.
but it's the Blues and they have him. So why would they trade an Alan Walsh client? There we go. We see the conundrum. As a putting my neutral hat on, they're 3 points out. Just go for it.
And I think that's what's the overarching conversation, kind of where Adam started it, is there's so many teams within that little range, because it's so weird this year that we have like 1 through 6 in both conferences are kind of we're good, you know, we're kind of solidified, and then everything from 7 through like 11 in the conference, you're kind of in there.
Yeah.
If you truly squint your eyes and you believe, do I think the New York Islanders are actually in there? No. Not at all. They're going to miss the playoffs. And
But they think they are.
But they think they are, because if you look at the standings, they're in 7th in the wild card spots, but they're 63 points, which is only 3 back of the Rangers, who have 66.
Who I told you we're going to make the playoffs. Look at the Rangers.
But I got a bone to pick with someone. I got a bone to pick with Julian McKenzie.
What?
Last night he tweeted he texted the group chat a tweet from the New York Islanders. I'm in the middle of a workout and I just see Julian McKenzie has sent a tweet, and I go, and I see it's the Islanders. I go, and I see it's a picture of Brock Nelson. I go, and it's just he scored. It is trade deadline week. You can't do that to me deadline week.
The New York Islanders are 13th in the conference. Like that's not good.
No.
That you're a bad team, but they sit 3 points out of a playoff spot. So if they squint their eyes hard enough, and Lou Lamoriello's looking at his coffee mug in the morning, and he's like, you know what, we're a playoff team. Like I think that's a very poor way to look at it. I think you should look at how like the Washington Capitals looked at the year they sold when they were kind of near the playoffs. That's how teams should be looking at it if you're in that wild card range. And I think they're doing a disservice to the future of their team if teams like the Islanders and the Bruins and the Flyers and the Canadians don't all just sell. Like those
I
are
think
the
the
teams that
Canadians should try.
They're 1 point back and they've won 5 straight.
I think the Canadians should sell just because they've sold enough, and you gotta at least get this group. Well, Savard, but the condition.
got a year left.
You gotta. Well, yeah, that's why you sell them.
No,
because you get so much for it. But the Canadians, I think you got to go for it because you got to condition these guys to start it. To this sort of like you're going to make the playoffs, you got to go for it, right? Like I think that is absolutely the right thing to do. The Bruins need to sell the Islanders. Like what are we doing with the Islanders core? Philadelphia could sell. Pittsburgh, I think, has sold. Buffalo, I don't know what the hell you do.
I think it'd be ridiculous if the Canadians bought.
I don't know about buy, but like this is
the opposite of sell.
What if they were neutral?
There's a bunch of players on the Montreal Canadiens. This is the most meaningful 6 weeks of hockey they've ever played.
Yeah, today. Like
No, but that's part of the development.
Yeah, but 2 losses moves you down to where the Islanders are. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to put in perspective with the standings.
All right.
Like, no, literally right now, they're in that spot. 2 days from now, they could be down in 13th.
Well, here I got it. Here, bring the standings back up. I'll show you the cutoff because I think I nailed it. Okay, see how the Rangers are in a playoff spot? Okay, everyone below them.
Yeah, so that's not what I said at all.
I know.
From the Canadians down, I think you should be sellers.
Absolutely.
I think the Sens, looking at their roster and how they have actually played, they have a legitimate shot to be in a playoff spot. I thought they'd be in that spot right now, comfy. The Rangers, Red Wings, Blue Jackets all should be going for this thing. I think
the playoffs and be good in them.
I think the Canadians down should be sellers. Like that's I'm offering an opinion there.
Yeah, it's a dumb one though. No, I'm kidding. I disagree with you like one spot.
Yeah.
Like we're one spot off. So
Okay.
we're basically in agreement. The Bruins make perfect sense. And that's a one-off. That's a 1 year, don't get too used to it, Leaf fans. And then, yeah, everyone beneath them. Yo, the Sabres are such a sad sack friggin' team, dude. I really believed in them. And I'm looking at their last 10, they're not that bad.
I think the message is stop believing them.
Oh, I know.
They don't have it.
Well,
whatever it is, they don't have it.
Well, so they got smacked by the Sharks last night.
Yep.
And I think it was Drew, because of course it was, sent a quote from Bowen Byram, who's like, oh, I don't know if we took them too lightly or blah, blah, blah. And Drew's like, you are last in the East. How are you taking anybody?
Yeah, you should. Every game you need to be able to.
What are you talking about?
David Savard does not have another year.
I thought he did.
He's a UFA. I think
the
Canadians should move off of Dvorak, Armia, and Savard. If it is a seller's market, you take advantage of those 3 expiring contracts and you go out and you get really good assets that make you good next season when you actually should be a playoff team.
See, Armia, I think, would get you pretty and Savard.
He's been it's just Evans. They love Evans and Armia killing penalties together, though. I think they might try to extend Armia, but for less money.
So I guess in terms of
Maybe.
who has the most difficult decision to make over the next 3 days, it's probably, I would say it's the Habs. Because there's really strong arguments for both. Like I'm like, no, fuck that. You're 1 point back. Go for it. And then you show me who's available, and I'm like, ooh, you could get. I don't know about 2 first-round picks. That's aggressive, but you could get like a world supply of seconds. But here, Jesse, can you scroll to their draft situation, like what they have in terms of picks? Where
A lot.
Oh, there it is on the right.
A fortune.
Okay. Oh, for God's sake! Like, isn't that enough? 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, 2 fourths, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. Next year, a first, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths. I don't know, man. Like,
They should. By the way, they should draft all those players this year.
No, they
absolutely
friggin' shouldn't.
should, because you know what? In 3 or 4 years, all of those guys are going to be entering the window that the Suzuki Caulfield guys are in the
maybe
midst
right.
of when they're
The Montreal
peaking.
Canadiens are going to be so good.
Yeah,
in, like,
they're doing a
2
good job.
seasons. Like even next year, I think they can be in the same spot again where they're right on the cusp of the playoffs. And they don't even necessarily have to sell Armia and Savard for draft picks. Like they can use that and maybe flip it for guys who they can use next season.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
Like,
Well, and that's what I want to see out of this deadline is hockey trades.
you're right.
That
Yes.
could be this year's buying and selling is, okay, this guy is he's probably better but expiring. You give us younger guy, or maybe he's not even younger, he just has another year left, right? Let's get creative.
Yeah.
Like I think I can see the mental log jam of, oh, there's not that many sellers and who has the draft picks, who has the cap room. All right. Friggin' oasis in the desert, sunshine after the storm. The cap is going up. Hooray! Finally, we're here. The cap is going up. Let's get creative. That's what I want to see out of these guys. Knight and Seth Jones. Ooh. I didn't think. Ooh, that's kind of interesting.
There's a guy with 5 years left on his contract.
Nietzsche and Rantanen. That's not a buy and sell. That's just, ooh, that's teams getting kind of clever. Frederick, that's, very typical trade deadline stuff. Most of what we've seen so far hasn't been. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder what happens over the next 24 to 48 hours to what sellers emerge or somebody gets. So one trade I did like, and people thought it was weird that I liked it, but the Trent Frederick trade to Edmonton. Now, the wrinkle, and CJ tweeted this out, is that he might not play until game 1 of the playoffs.
Who do you like it for?
I like it for Edmonton. Because so what if he doesn't play till the playoffs? So what? You don't get Trent Frederick because he's like blistering in the regular season kind of guy.
No, but like, I don't know. Doesn't chemistry matter a little?
They'll figure it out.
I'm sure
They'll figure
they
it out.
could.
Hey, Trent, can you just be what you were in Boston, but in a different jersey? Cool. Then chemistry's sorted.
Okay, so I'm starting to adjust on the Oilers a bit, though. So last year's Oilers do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're cracked. Whatever. They're going to be fine. This year's Oilers are pretty ass right now. I don't know if, like, they can't get a save. They get
we've
lit up a lot.
We've been through that, right?
Yeah.
Thinner defense, right?
Someone
No
showed me-
Broberg, no Desharnais, none of the guys that CC, none of the guys, like they lost 3 of the defensemen that brought them to the finals.
Someone
right?
posted that McDavid has similar stats to Connor McMichael.
He does, I think, but I think McMichael's played like 10 more games or something like that. There was like
It's less than 10.
Okay.
More. He's played more.
well, you want a crazy stat is Ilya Mikheyev has more goals than Elias Pettersson.
You just broke me.
Ilya Mikheyev has 12 goals, Pettersson is 11.
I messaged the chat yesterday. I'm like, okay, this is sick puppy stuff. Is Mikheyev available? Not for the Leafs, but just
He
I don't
should
know.
be.
He's got 12 goals.
12 goals.
He makes too much money, but he's got 12 goals. And the Blackhawks don't have any retention spots left, LMAO. And Mikheyev was on the Canucks. What happened?
I don't know.
That to me is my white whale.
I think
for this
I think he was
deadline.
making too much money and they needed to jettison him and that sort of thing. And
No,
he's a player that needs.
Oh, my sweet summer child. I was talking about Pettersson.
Oh, Pettersson.
Oh, well,
Making too much money and they
Mikheyev
need to
wasn't good
jettison him?
anymore.
I don't know, man. It's so
I want to see him go to the Sabres. That's my white whale for this deadline.
I'm curious about what is it going to take for somebody to make a move, because somebody's going to have to do something. Like the Leafs,
Sorry, my white whale is actually Yanni Gourde to the Leafs. Sorry.
the Shen stuff is clearly cooled. Brock Nelson and the Islanders. So here's what we're hearing. The interesting thing with Brock Nelson is it's like the Islanders desperately want to keep him. I haven't heard anything about Brock necessarily wanting to stay other than he loves Long Island, which, okay, loving Long Island and wanting to stay are very separate things.
It's also the Islanders, and you just don't hear stuff.
Now, then I hear, okay, well, the Leafs, specifically from a Leafs perspective, well, they're Scott Laughton, and there was the thing that went out there yesterday. I think it was from Darren Dreger that clearly came from Flyers management. That was, we would have taken Fraser Minton for Scott Laughton, and I hate to tell you this, whether they do it or not. affectionately to Scott Laughton. I've heard both that he wants to stay in Philadelphia and has asked Philadelphia management not to trade him. Then I heard yesterday, I think it was via Saravalli, that he'd love to play in Toronto and wants to suit up and would be very open to a trade there. Okay. And one thing I will tell you is that whatever they are asking, like this first round pick for Scott Laughton, is objectively an overpay. So if it's a first that goes for Laughton and it's the Leafs first in 2026 and he's got another year left, I still think that's objectively an overpay. The question will be, are we okay with it anyway?
You got to give something to get something.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and
so let's make a package. 2026 first for me is a no.
Why is that a no?
Because
the prospects for me are a no.
For Laughton, they're also a no.
Yeah.
To me. Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. So there's the three prospects we always talk about with the Leafs, and then there's this next tier where you're like, nah, I don't want to lose those guys. So 2026 first is a no for me. It's next year's first. You don't know what team you're going to be next year. Very literally. Nyes doesn't have a contract. He's an RFA. You're confident that'll get done. Okay, fine. You're worrying about your 3C. Your 2C isn't signed. Mm-hmm. You don't have Tavares signed. Marner has probably been your MVP this year. He's not signed.
Well, that's why I think you trade the pick and top 10 protect it. Because
yeah. You would have to protect it.
Because this you don't know. So you better fucking do it now.
Yeah, but the way it usually gets protected is it's like, okay, well, if we suck, then it gets kicked a year down the road. What if you suck then?
Think about this. Think about all the hand-wringing there was about NHL teams worrying about the salary cap going up. And, so the Leafs are going to be a team that's going to spend to the cap no matter what. And so my question is, okay, you're telling me that if there's only 20 teams can spend to the cap, or only 15, or only 10, as some people have suggested. I find that really hard to believe. That only 10 would be able to spend to the cap. That's shocking.
Probably one of them.
That would be shocking. My question is, if you're Toronto, well, then draft picks matter less. You'll just go sign some guys, and so you do trade that pick.
No, I think you can trade that pick. I just wouldn't do it now. I want some more certainty with what next year is going to be. And then, you could, let's say you sign those guys.
They're in first in the division now.
Let's say you sign those guys to extensions, right? At the draft. Then you can trade it at the draft. I'd be way more comfortable with that.
But that's at the draft.
I know.
So what are you willing to give now?
So let's go through the list. Mm-hmm. There's Mitten. There's Cowan. There's Danford. That's tier 1 of Leaf prospects.
Yep.
No, I'm not doing the prospect pyramid. I'm just talking about what they have to offer. Then there's this next tier of guys where I'm like, no, I like them. No. And we're talking about the tier of prospects that every fan base has. Mm-hmm. Every team has this. The prospects that you overvalue.
Yes.
And hand to God, I know we're overvaluing him. Grabenkin. That's going to hurt a lot of Leaf fans' souls. Even if it's, and no Flyers fans, I'm not saying Grabenkin for Laughton straight up. There's Grabenkin, and then a Leaf prospect no one's talking about for some reason, Noah Chadwick. He was a very late round pick, 5th, 6th, or 7th. He is a 6'4", 200+ pound defenseman in the WHL who is shooting the friggin' lights out. He's like a point a game defenseman.
But he's an overager.
So what? I know that matters, but he's done very well since getting drafted, and I do not want to see that player go. Then there's the second they have this year and the third. I think there's got to be some sort of reasonable package that could get a player that either is named Scott Laughton or is like Scott Laughton for something in the neighborhood of a second and a third, Grabenkin and a third, Grabenkin and a second, something like that. I don't want to give up the 2026 first. I don't want to do it.
I think you're wrong.
I don't want to give up Cowan. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give up Minton. I don't want to give up Danford either.
Right. I mean, listen.
Unless it's crazy.
The Leafs seem to think Minton is pretty close to the NHL because he's played NHL games this year.
He might even be Laughton.
Oh,
wait.
Jesse, where do you stand on this? What do you like? Is there anything that's off the table for you?
I don't think you should not do anything that stops you from winning this season. I feel like if the first pick is the thing that gets you over the hill. Next year's first, the thing that gets you over the hill, over the hump for the playoffs this season, because you got to go get a guy, then you do it. But I feel like if you don't want to give that up, there's probably enough prospects that you can finagle to equal that value. Like if you have a hard line on that pick, I'm sure that won't be the thing that ends the deal. I'm sure you could offer that GM some sort of prospects so you wouldn't have to give the pick. You know, these people, it wouldn't just be like that pick or nothing. I feel like you could offer a Danford. And we forget that Danford was drafted last season and everybody hated that pick. And it's weird how the tables have turned on that so quickly, where now he's an untouchable prospect. I don't understand that. I think you send him out the door as soon as you can if it's something that can help you win today.
We're overvaluing Danford
a lot.
But we hated him as soon as we saw the numbers, because for a lot of people, when he was picked, that was all we had. Then we saw the footage, and I went, ooh.
Yeah.
I want to keep him. He's a nail gun.
And you see that with every prospect.
Most NHL defensive prospects don't really fully break until they're 22, 23 anyway.
All right. Danford doesn't help the Leafs in their window at all.
So
like he's not, I don't think he's an important piece to this team's success in this era.
So speaking of 22, 23-year-olds, I have no idea what Nick Robertson's value is. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, is he an NHL player?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
I think he has the potential to be a pretty good one. Is he great?
You can do that for a long time, though.
I know.
Like with Timothy Liljegren, like who we just sent out this
That's
season.
such a good example.
You can do that for a long time with a player and say, I don't know how good he's going to be. He could be really good. And you hang on to him, and then there's no value anymore.
Timothy Liljegren got a welcome back highlight package.
Yes.
Don't ever tell me.
They're not highlight packages. They're just his picture. Up
Whatever.
On the screen
and an ovation.
Everybody is claps for him.
I think it's just people being nice.
Yes.
Yes.
That's fair.
No.
Boo it?
No. Toronto.
Yeah.
Danford too has been injured a lot this season. Like he got the concussion in prospect camp, and then he got injured. What was it, late Feb on a dirty play?
Jesse, it's 2025. I don't have to listen to your facts.
I think if Ben Danford gets you a guy who helps you win a couple rounds this season,
We're in a post-fact world, Jesse. What if I just like him? I
know he's a Jenny, and that's your team.
Yeah, man, that helps too.
Captain, right?
Yes, you're gosh darn right.
That doesn't help you win these playoffs.
No.
Yeah.
So I feel like, Trill Living is putting it out there now that just through people like, hey, it's not going to be that exciting. He is a summer guy. He is a sweet summer building child. And so
I love Dan Benford. I hope we keep him.
Dan Benford?
Dan Benford.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, there's Jesse understanding the humor. Adam, like, he's dumb enough. He might be just wrong. You're both right.
So, I look at
a
it.
stroke?
I might have. No one will know.
No one will know.
No one will ever. No one will know.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monos, a game-changing luggage brand that's revolutionized travel. Now, Mono in Japanese means appreciation of the beauty of fleeting moments.
And you just knew that.
I did. It actually said
knew
it.
that.
That's so impressive.
You
said
just
that-
knew that because you know Japan.
No, it said that on the sheet of paper that they handed me. But I think it's important because, hey, listen, we all got Monos and we're using them to go to San Jose. That's going to be our luggage to San Jose. And here's the thing about you're gonna love about this. It is a hybrid collection of cool, limited edition elemental blue shade luggage some of us got, right? Mm-hmm. And the great thing about this is it is game-changing luggage. It's lightweight, hard shell, sleek vegan leather weekend bags. Monos offers reliable gear that you can use on every single trip. So this year you'll be able to check out their new products when Monos opens 5 new stores in the United States, including New York, Boston, Chicago, LA, and DC. Right now, you can save 15% on your online order with the code SDP at monos.com. MONOS. Monos.com. Again, it's 15% when you order online. That's monos.com. Use that promo code SDP. If the Leafs are not able to get through this deadline and add a center, you do have Yarncroke. who looked okay. You're gonna have to try. Listen, if you're telling me
There are people waiting outside the studio with hammers.
on the
to beat you for
current
saying
roster, tell me a better third line center option than that. Go ahead.
that. Fraser Minton.
Okay, fine. Fraser Minton, you got him too.
It'd be real tough if we play that. If the Leafs play Saturday and they don't have a new body in there.
I agree with you.
That's a real tough look.
But I think that's what you're looking at, right? If it doesn't happen. So if they go, okay, fine, we're gonna have to do Minton, Yarncroke, and cross our fingers. You got to do something on defense.
All right. Let's do this. How close is Ty Domi? How many more times does Ty Domi? How many more times
I thought so.
does Matt?
see right there.
Yeah, see?
I thought you were saying Ty.
Yeah.
So Dan
We'll
Benford.
never know.
We'll never know.
Never know.
We'll never know. What is you just gonna? He's dead. Anyway, Dan Benford and his future teammate Max Domi. How many more times does Max Domi need to find himself in the penalty box before he finds himself in a different box? That of the press variety. If he's okay, so I said Yarncroke, Minton, McMahon. Do you have a problem with that third line in this?
I don't have a problem with Pontus top line left winger Holmberg lately too. He's been playing great. So yeah, I like that. But and listen, let me add a wrinkle to that. What about Nicky Bobby? Nicky Bobby, who's been a monster.
So here, let's say Yarncroke gets his feet under him, which I expect to be a thing that happens. Nyes, Matthews, Marner. Yarncroke, Tavares, Nylander.
Nah, I think Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander.
Okay, fine. Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander. Then it gets very interesting. McMahon, Minton, Robertson?
I think maybe, or Yarncroke.
And then we go, well, because I don't want Robertson on the fourth line.
Yeah, I agree.
Yarncroke can do that. I don't think Robertson can. So then your fourth line is
Dewar.
or
Kampf.
Lorentz.
And Yarn.
Who's missing?
Well, Yarncroke is missing. So is Domi.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. You're right. Lorentz, Kampf, Yarncroke. Now who's missing?
Dewar and Domi. Double D.
Does that lineup miss Domi?
Well,
That lineup also doesn't win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, no. Shit, no. You're 100% right. Which to me is why they need to make a move.
but don't trade anything of value
Correct.
because you never know what could happen in a few months.
This whole time I thought you weren't listening. Turns out you were.
You're a genius.
I know.
I don't know how you do. Man, you just did. You just spelled it all out. No, you can't take from the top prospects, and you can't have our first round pick. You can have Korpinkin,
Maybe.
fourth round pick.
You go up to all the teams and you threaten them with tariffs.
Yeah.
It's no. The fourth rounder I was going to give you is now seventh.
No, you got to be okay with dropping that first round pick. I think they're going to be. I actually think it's going to be a throwback the next few years. I think the Leafs are going to be able to plug holes via free agency in a way that other teams can't, and take on salaries maybe that are not ideal, that other teams can no longer afford. And I think that gives you the flexibility to go, you know what? That fourth round pick in 2026 probably wouldn't make the lineup regularly until 2030. I think we're okay.
You also didn't mention Pacioretty, who is a human on this roster.
Is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's he go?
Right. But you do need depth. You do need depth.
Yeah, no.
So if you've got a full line of 3 forwards just sitting on the sidelines, that you can go to the playoffs with, that's not the worst thing in the world.
like nothing against the guy, like he found his niche on this team. He hasn't made himself inexpendable. He hasn't.
You have to be able to stay healthy.
That too.
You have to be regular. You have to show what you can do throughout the entire season. And just unfortunately, he hasn't been able to be healthy.
Yes, but like even when he is healthy,
Yeah.
and I know their record with him in the lineup is crazy.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of the same problems that other guys in the Leafs bottom 6 have. Like, oh yeah, there's some offensive touch there. Oh, he throws a few hits. Oh, the Leafs are hemorrhaging chances when they're on the ice. Robertson has had that problem at times. He's cleaning it up a bit. Domi's one of the most hopeless defensive forwards I've ever seen. And the things he does well, he does crazy good.
Great.
I wonder
passer.
if there's an injury there. I just wonder if there's something nagging. Like, it just does not seem like the Domi we saw in the second half of last year. It doesn't at all.
This Domi we saw the second half of last year was a winger.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right?
We've
yeah.
been saying since the season began.
This is not a center.
We're like, oh, okay, so that's not good enough. No matter how they perform this season, third line center is a problem, and they need to add to it. So to me, if they come out of this deadline and they only made one move, but it's that one, success.
Yeah. The defense, like, I could deal with that in the playoffs.
I can deal with it. I'm not thrilled, but I can deal with it.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But I can see them
It's better
winning
than
with
last
it.
year.
100%. 100% is better than last
Better than any year we've had in the Matthews era, this
Yeah.
defense core.
Yeah. The Ryan Reeves makes $1.35 million that the Leafs probably would like to use in a different way, but I don't think that's an option right now.
It might just be a
I wonder-
salary move thing, right?
I wonder if he goes, yeah.
Do you think that... do you think Ryan O'Reilly sneaks back into the picture for the Leafs?
No. No.
No.
No. That would get me excited. I'm not going to lie.
If the Predators are doing one of the most moronic things I've ever heard of and allowing him to have a literally imaginary no trade clause,
Yeah, which is
then
pretty
he's not
crazy.
coming here. I don't think he wants to.
Okay.
They also don't need to trade him. So,
They don't need to trade him.
and those have like that rumor is kind of cooled from the insiders.
It has.
I would like Luke Shen would tie the room together. The Canadian Yanni Hakan.
The other problem I want to
let's get
say with the Lawton stuff, which has gained traction, is that he's played wing most of the year, guys. That is not... I want a guy who's a center 10 times out of 10. If you've been playing wing most of the year in Philadelphia, you're not the guy we're looking for.
Where?
Philadelphia, the mid Flyers. No offense, Philly. You guys know where you're at. If you're not a top 3 center in Philly right now, then what are we doing here?
Right.
What are we doing here?
Steve, the Philadelphia Flyers are 4 points out of the playoffs. Should they buy?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, you're supposed to say yes.
No, wait.
Your whole thing.
No, wait. Here, sorry. Here, I'll do you one better. Ask me the question again.
All right. Steve Dangle, the Philadelphia Flyers are 4 points out of a playoff spot. Should they buy?
I'm taking the over. I thought that would get a better.
Do you think?
It's a throwback to our season preview.
Yes.
which-
I thought it was funny.
Do you think that? So one of the names Jonas Siegel brought up in his article
An hour and a half show. You shut up. You try it.
is potentially.
Stop
So
yelling at the car.
so
Yelling through the windshield. Sorry, Adam. Were you saying something?
David Savard's name did come up, but obviously Savard probably. I mean, listen, I would love David Savard on the
my
Leafs.
guy.
I know that's your guy, Jesse. I mean,
Yeah.
here's a name that I like that you don't have to play a whole bunch that nobody's brought up, and I'm glad Jonas brought him up. Alec Martinez, Chicago Blackhawks, 37.
Very interesting.
If you have him old, but
Which we already know isn't a problem for the league.
amazing for LA during their runs, and I think he was on the Vegas run too, the last one.
Oh, he scored. He almost scored the cup-winning goal.
That's right, almost.
It would have been a second.
And so I'm listen, the Leafs don't have like a Duncan Keith in his prime, but I can remember the Chicago Blackhawks with Kimmo Timonen playing 5 minutes a night, winning the cup. And I'm not saying Alec Martinez is a guy that you're playing 5 minutes a night, but I'm saying you can, if Simon Benoit and Alec Martinez are tied, are the bottom pair, and you're only comfortable putting Benoit out there 7 to 8, 10 minutes a night, and Martinez is more in the 12 to 14 range. I like that. I like that. And there's a guy that's reliable enough. I don't think listen, am I asking for the sun and the moon here with Alec Martinez in terms of what he brings? No. I'm looking for a guy that please eat some minutes where you can just be freaking neutral. Just be neutral.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure he's been on the top pair for Chicago, which is insane.
I'm pretty sure TJ Brody is too. So let's just
My
keep
holy
that in there.
Moses. Okay. Everyone healthy. Jake McCabe, Chris Tanev. Hooray. Morgan Riley. I would like a big meanie.
So you want a big meanie?
I would. But you could do Riley OEL.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of that.
Not crazy about it.
Could do it. Not a huge fan. Then you do...
There is a rumor, by the way, that Brandon Carlo might be available. And if you're the Leafs, do you not just say, what do you want? It's going to be painful, but what do you want? 28 years old, $4.1 million. That's where I'm going. I'll part with some picks and prospects.
We already know the Bruins rebuild is going to last a maximum of 1 year, and you're going to finance it.
Yeah. I'm fine with financing it. I want to win now.
Oh, my God.
You have to be okay with that.
I don't know if the Leafs have the assets to acquire Carlo.
No.
Well, the Bruins are going to be good next season, and they're going to get people that are going to make them good next season.
They don't need to trade him.
Yeah.
Right?
They apparently he's available.
They can name their price.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, he's available if you're drunk.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to pay like the sun and the moon for him, of course they'll trade him. He's open for business.
I think you do though. Like the Leafs when they traded Caberlet to Boston on Boston's Stanley Cup winning run, if the Leafs had been not the dumbest organization in the sport at that time, they probably could have parlayed those assets into a quick, I don't know, build. But they were so poorly run, I can't state to you how bad the 2010-2011 Leafs were run. Terrible. If they had been intelligent about their asset management back then, and they were not, let's put that one just down one more time, underline. I feel like it's happened before. Yeah. The Leafs sold Caberlet to the Bruins.
It was bad, if I remember correct.
And I feel like that, so you can do it interdivisionally. There's history.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But I just want to say that it might make sense for both sides. The Bruins have one of the worst prospect systems right now in the entire NHL. They could use some prospects.
Let's do this. Okay, you get Martinez. Let's put Martinez on the team.
So Martinez is not an expensive buy, by the way.
Okay, great.
Not expensive. He's only played 34 games this year too, but it's worth,
McCabe on the left. We know he can play the right.
I think
let's put him on the left.
Martinez is expensive because the Leafs don't have the $4 million to fit him on the cap, and the Chicago Blackhawks can't retain.
You would have to.
There'd have to be a third.
Is he making $4 million?
Yeah, there'd have to be a third team.
What are they
involved.
They overpaid everybody.
For the Leafs to acquire Martinez, they need somebody to retain. The Blackhawks can't do that, so I think it's the opposite.
Yeah. All right, forget Martinez. Forget Martinez.
No, I'm not going to forget. No, add a third team in there. It's fine. It's a little expensive.
Fine.
It's tricky, but
Call Anaheim. Do it.
You really want.
Let's figure this out. Do we want McCabe on the left or right?
You just do the line.
Well, you want him on the left, and you want him with Tanev.
Sure.
So McCabe, Tanev, done.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Riley on the left. Great. We're at 3 out of 6. We're halfway there, and now it gets hard. Do you want OEL on the left or right? I personally want him on the left.
Okay.
And that pushes him down to the third pair. Great. 2 spots left. Oh, shit. And they're both righties. Mm-hmm. Now it gets tough. This makes it difficult for Benoit, unless you do OEL Benoit, but that puts OEL on the right.
By the way, if you're trading for Alec Martinez, one of Kampf or Domi or Pacioretty, or
you would have to send money
you would be sending salary the other way.
Yes.
Trading Kampf or Domi back to Chicago seems cruel at this point, but you need who do they keep going out and getting and putting with Riley, and it actually sort of works? Labushkin.
Mm-hmm.
Shen was the best one, and he's available. Just
is he
play the hits, man. Play the hits. Go out and get Luke Shen. Then you have McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Shen, and your third pair could be Benoit, OEL. Mm-hmm. It could be OEL, Myers. It could be whatever. Mm-hmm. OEL, Timmins. I don't love that.
Martinez.
You don't love that?
No. It's weird. When it comes to the playoff roster, I feel like I'd rather Myers than Timmins.
Alec Martinez.
I don't think Timmins cracks game 1.
I think I'd rather neither of them.
Yeah. Ideally, no.
Alec Martinez is only starting 8% of his zones in the offensive zone, which tells you how bad the
So Chicago's you have to help stop everything or we're dead.
And
also, how often are the Chicago Blackhawks in the offense?
That's my point.
Yeah.
The expected goals though it's still 1.2. It's still in the positive. With him. I do think that's a valuable player. And I think that kind of pedigree too, guy that's been there, $4 million is insane. What is JD thinking? Or Katie, not JD.
The fact the Blackhawks can't retain anymore
is just ridiculous.
Crazy. So Seth Jones, that spot is going to be on the books for their next half decade. They're screwed. McCabe is finally coming off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's got to be Dubas's best deal.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that or like Hyman was theft.
Mm-hmm.
That was insane. The first one.
Yeah.
Not where they lost him, which wasn't a deal. They just lost him. And then I can't remember. There's one other player who they're retaining on.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes off. The second those guys are off the books, like Blackhawks, I think need to retain to get a few of those guys out the door. They need a right D. They need a center. In terms of priority, center's number one. Right D is number two, but I don't think it should be far behind. And then everything else is gravy. Like Frank Saravalli was really pushing Riley Smith to the Leafs.
No.
And I'm like, what problem does that solve? That to me solves left wing, which is way down.
That is fourth or fifth on their issues list.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Hey, neat. But like the Leafs are spending more on their roster than any other team in the league.
Riley
season.
Smith has now, that would be him being punted from two teams already in 2 years, like the Penguins and the Rangers.
Red flag.
And the Rangers are going to the playoffs. I keep saying this.
Yes.
So A, why would they want to trade him? And if they are going to the playoffs, why do they want to trade him?
He's won a cup. You might as well keep him. Like,
Yeah, but if they don't, what does that say?
yeah. Yeah.
I have concerns there.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, I don't know.
Red flag from the blue shirts. I need a hockey trade, baby. I need a hockey trade.
You're just asking for some sort of creativity out of these GMs.
Yeah, I mean, the defenseman the Leafs should probably be going after from Chicago is Connor Murphy because he is a living, breathing human being who shoots right-handed.
Adam brought up TJ Brody
Absolutely.
a couple minutes ago. Healthy scratched
the
other night for the Blackhawks.
He might be healthy scratched all next season, guys. Like
So-
that is just not going well.
Yeah, they're going.
Poor guy, man.
They're going a different lineup.
Yeah.
No Brody.
Yeah, I feel for him. He was great here when he was great. The other thing that was sort of brought up, there was a little bit of a Twitter back and forth I saw. I think it was between Dom Lucian and somebody else that basically were like, hey, what if the Leafs put together a Lawton? Again, I'm not on the Lawton train at all. You're not playing center. We don't need you. We need somebody who's playing center.
I'm a little...
But they said, what about a retained Rasmus Ristolainen as a part of that package? And, and I thought, I'm like, okay, so I think his numbers have improved. But is he an improvement on at $2.5 million or whatever, $2.55 million, which would be 50% retained?
His contract's psycho.
His contract's crazy. He's $5.1 million a year for another year. Oh. And so you get him, but you get him at 2.55. And I'm like, is he $1 million better than Simon Benoit?
You have to take Domi. You have to take Domi.
You have to take some salary. You'd have to take salary.
Oh, no one's calling. No one's interested. Yeah.
Kevin Kerr said no one's calling about him.
Yeah. Oh. Like, something that could make sense is, like, whatever the difference between Risto and Domi is, like, you retain on Risto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because Domi has more term left. He has 1 year left at less salary than Risto, who has 1 year less. There could be something there. I also think John Tortorella and Max Domi will kill each other.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fit.
Die next to each other.
Well, so would Ryan Johansson and John
On the
Tortorella. We never
battlefield.
got there, though, did we?
No, this isn't that.
No.
This is two men who will
Diametrically opposed.
kill each other.
Yeah.
It'll be so fun.
I don't know.
So fun if you have no conscience.
Yep.
I think we're all in agreement they can't do nothing.
You're just not willing to trade anything of value.
No, I mean, Chicago's a team to watch. One, because they're just not particularly good at this. But also they have 4 goalies. One of them's hurt. And Spencer Knight, did you see his debut?
He was great.
41 and a 42. Holy shit. That might end up working out well for them. So they have all this stuff they can unload. And a few things that they sort of have to. Like, for example, Mrazek at 4.25. For another year. You have no retention slots.
You have him.
What do you do? Like, I wonder if Chicago could be a facilitator for someone where like they have to, or no, sorry, Chicago's not the facilitator. Chicago has to go out and find a facilitator for a trade, and they pay. So like someone gives Chicago, I don't know, a second, but Chicago then has to make the deal work, trade a fourth or a fifth.
I don't know.
Because they don't have this, they literally don't have the space.
And all they got for the Mikko Rantanen slot was third round pick.
Third! Boo! Oh, it's Rantanen. He's the third guy. Thank you. Oh my god!
I should mention that Vitek Vanacek has been traded to the Florida Panthers.
Oh,
because they've been looking for a backup since they traded Spencer Knight.
that makes a lot of sense.
Don't have the full details yet, but I'm waiting on them. It doesn't look like it's a crazy big trade, but it's good for Florida. Good for Florida.
It's good for Vanacek, dude.
Yeah,
like he's making 3.4 to not stop an abundance of pucks in recent memory. He was really, really good for New Jersey, and then
he's got 3 wins this year.
What?
And an .882 save percentage.
In how many games?
18.
You stop that.
No, I'm serious.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it
Serious.
up. You're lying.
Now,
he doesn't have 3 wins in 18 games.
He does. The Panthers, I would think, guys, are looking at this and going, okay, we need a guy who's played NHL games. Drieger's also played NHL games. We don't think we're going to have Bobrovsky out, but if we did, we need some sort of somebody.
He's been exceptionally poor in the AHL this season.
Yeah. Vanacek's never been great in the playoffs either. His best showing was 2 games for the Capitals in 21-22 with an .863 save percentage. He also was in the 7-game New Jersey series in 22-23, .825.
He lost his job to Schmidt.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And that's how bad Drieger's been. it's true, unfortunately.
It's true. Yeah. So,
I'll be very interested in the price there.
Yeah, I think probably next to nothing. They'd be like, it's probably future considerations at this point. Anyway, it's going to be a. I don't know, guys, if this is going to be a trade deadline that is one that blows us away because everybody's sort of shocked at the trades that came out of nowhere, or if this is going to be a trade deadline that is well and truly a dud. And again, Jesse, I take your point earlier about, hey, Rantanen already moved, but my ask to you guys is, do you think, what do you think, given what we know now, 48 hours out, like from right now to then, we will be in the middle of our trade deadline special 48 hours from now, okay?
Oh my God.
Are we going to be sitting around picking our noses, or is there going to be a flurry of activity last minute that we weren't surprised, or that we are shocked by?
I will not be doing that. It's a bad habit that you should kick and should have kicked a few years ago. I will be making content.
Okay. Jesse.
Yeah, there's always trades on deadline day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Also worth mentioning, Matthew Olivier has re-signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets. This guy is very well and truly becoming one of the leaders on this team.
When did they become good and smart?
Brilliant move.
Man.
So $3 million a year, 6 years. The guy's right now scoring about 10 to 15 goals a year, but he's also the biggest heavyweight in the game.
Yes.
And so basically he's got a 10-team no trade, 6 years, $3 million a piece, like I said. Bit of a front-loaded deal, but nothing crazy.
A neck as wide as his ears.
And I think in 2 to 3 years, Matthew Olivier making $3 million is going to be an absolute steal.
Yeah. No, there's nothing to hate there. You have a unicorn, you lock him up. And they did to a very, very, very reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
They also have so much cap space, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that too.
They need to hit the floor for next season, so like have this contract on the books. It's good.
Yeah, they are going to need that cap space at some point.
Yeah,
'cause they have all these young
eventually
guys.
they got to pay all the kids who are overperforming this year, so it'll be good to save, but you still need to pay people to play hockey.
Yeah.
So it's a great deal for Columbus.
Patrick Giles is the person going the other way to San Jose. Patrick Giles. I'm going to look Patrick Giles up. He is a player who has played 9 games in the NHL. He's currently with the AHL's Charlotte Checkers. He signed with the Panthers organization out of Boston College. He is a right winger, 6'5", 218 pounds, and and basically is like he's got 7 points in 39 games.
You're talking
in the
about the
AHL.
Vanacek deal.
Yes, Vanacek deal. Sorry, just updating on that. Yeah, it's crazy that we're like this far out, and yet there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of the trades.
You know what I think the deadline, or not, the news of the deadline could be? I think we're going to start to see a flood of contract extensions. We've already sort of seen it. Like, you need to know, like, this is the reason why I don't want the Leafs to trade the 2026 first. You need to know what's going on in the future. You need to know what's going on. I think you're going to see a flood of extensions. The Leafs have a ton of eligible guys, like, just, I don't know, to make it about them. If Robertson isn't traded, I want to see him extended. That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a little Nyes action? Can you make me happy?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be. I mean, if I was Nyes, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, why would you sign now?
I'm about to go off in the playoffs, and then you're going to give me more. Tavares, that'd make me feel better. Notice how I didn't say Marner, because like I know it's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean this is where we're at. It's sort of
chicken soup. Give me this one.
give it to. Go ahead.
Steven Lorentz.
You want to?
Give me a Steven Lorentz extension.
What would be a Steven Lorentz extension that you'd be happy with?
NHL contract.
For what? How many more years? 2?
A lot
3?
of them. 8 times league min.
Okay.
Leo is obsessed with Steven Lorentz.
Really?
Yeah, because he scored in the one game we went to, so he thinks he scores every game.
Ah, okay. All right.
Him and David Kampf. We saw Lorentz Kampf goal game. That's
a great game.
It is a great game.
If everybody did nothing, okay, as of right now, Steve, Jesse, from the games you have seen, and give me your honest, as unbiased as you possibly can be, because if I'm being biased, I'm always going to say Leafs in the Cup final. Who makes it out of the East? Who makes it out of the West? Right now, no moves.
No moves.
Yet. Now, it's worth mentioning, currently at the tops of their divisions, the Leafs, the Capitals, the Jets, and the Golden Knights. Big point differentials between all these teams.
Let me look here.
Especially the Jets and the Caps, who have 86 and 88 points. What do we think?
I mean, the Atlantic Division is just a slasher movie. Like, I don't think anyone survives. I think it's Saw.
So you think the conference final champion is coming out of the Central? Or sorry, the Metro.
I don't know how you go against the Caps. I don't. There's too much uncertainty. Like, okay, you look at the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. You're the Leafs. Hooray, we're on top. And then there's Florida, who's keeping pace with you and just got better. And there's Tampa, who does this crazy thing where they literally don't lose. They're Sudbury from friggin' Shoresy. We will never lose again. And that's their strategy going forward. Then there's the Metro. Mm-hmm. The Devils are without their best player. Best forward, certainly, in Jack Hughes, potentially for the rest of the season. We don't know. And the Hurricanes are a little shaky. They won their last 2, but they're 4-6 in their last 10. And their big trade deadline acquisition isn't scoring. The Caps. It has to be the Caps. You look at the wild card teams, that's who they're going to be playing. Bless the Blue Jackets. They probably beat them. Bless the Rangers. Now, the Rangers is really interesting.
Why?
But I think they... it would be... There's a potential for a rematch of last year's first round that's a complete role reversal, where the Rangers are the second wild card and the Caps are the Eastern champions. That's what happened last year, except roles were reversed. But I think the Caps would beat them. So for me, like, just looking at the road to the Cup final, it's hard to go against Washington. Very hard to go against Washington. In the West, the conversation starts with the Jets, and then you try to convince yourself that it's someone else. And again, the West is kind of for the taking. Dallas, they're still really good. Mm-hmm. I'd like them to get stronger. They did get, who'd they get? Granlund? I'd like to see them make an addition to their back end. Heiskanen's health is huge to their equation.
Yep.
Minnesota, it's difficult to envisioning them doing anything if Kaprizov isn't in their lineup and 100%. Vegas has won their last 2 games, but they've been pretty middle of the pack recently, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of guys who are either not going to be there or they're going to be less than 100%. Edmonton has been in free fall. They're 3-7 in their last 10. The Kings have lost their last 3. They haven't been awesome either. Colorado, to me, is a true wild card because they had to dig themselves out of a pretty big hole. Like, to me, if I'm Winnipeg, the 2 teams I'm worried about in this entire conference are Dallas and Colorado, and there's a really good chance they end up playing each other in the first round, and one of them takes each other out. So it's the easy cop-out thing to say both teams at the top of the conference, but they have the best roads.
And let's be honest, there's always the fraud watch playoff Hellebuck.
There is, fraudabuck, hella fraud.
Hella fraud.
is really interesting. To me, the Capitals, I'd sprinkle a $2, Steve, on them making the Cup final. Winnipeg, I have more trust issues, but that's my Cup final right now.
Jesse Blake.
Do you want to go next, or do you want me?
No, I want you to, if that's okay.
I got different answers from Steve.
I like that.
I think the Florida Panthers are the most disrespected Stanley Cup champions of all time. They not only won the Cup last year, they went to the Cup final the year before.
Yep.
Not a lot has changed off of their roster from last year to this year, and I think they have the best top 4 defense pairing in the East. If you look at it, it's Forsling, Ekblad, Mikkola, Jones. That is unbelievable. I don't know how anybody beats playoff Bobrovsky, and if I guess we're doing no additions teams, right?
No additions.
So I can't.
You can count Jones because he's already been added.
Yeah, but I can't talk about how Matthew Tkachuk being out till the playoffs is a crazy advantage because they can add a whole bunch, but in the next 48 hours. But that doesn't count in this
my answer
conversation.
changes aggressively 48 hours.
Yeah,
from
but
now.
even without adding anything, they're the best team in the East, and they're the best team in the National Hockey League, and have been for the last 2 straight seasons.
That's a solid bet for an Eastern Conference final to me.
So
is Washington, Florida.
Until somebody beats Florida, I think it's just you keep hammering Florida because they haven't proven anybody wrong the last 2 seasons. So I think once again they go to the Cup final. I don't know if they can beat the team out of the West, but I'm picking Florida. And having the best defensive center in the league on your team definitely helps. We see how many times just a great defensive center can help you win a series. Like we saw it with Deneau, we saw it with Barkov all through these runs. And then you have the guy who's the biggest gamer in the league right now in Matthew Tkachuk, and he's going to be ready to go and healthy for the playoffs. So I'm betting on Florida to make it back.
What about West?
The Vegas Golden Knights.
So you think a rematch?
Wow.
I think it's Vegas. I think it's Vegas, Florida once again. Vegas looks to me like a stronger version of that 23 team, in that like last year's team, it was like, okay, they had all the pieces, but they weren't kind of comfy and they weren't really ready to take on Dallas there and hold that lead they had against Dallas in that series, which was crazy. They go up 2-0 on the road and then lose the series.
Yeah.
Unbelievable collapse. But this year they look better. And my only question with Vegas is the goaltending, because Adin Hill kind of came out of nowhere that 23 season, and now they're riding Adin Hill, who hasn't looked the greatest, and then their backup is Sammy.
He's no Binnington. I've always said that.
Yeah, he's definitely no Jordan Binnington. So, and their backup's Ilya Samsonov. So I don't know how solid the goaltending is. You just hope time the playoff rolls around, Adin Hill is Stanley Cup Adin Hill again. But I don't see many flaws in Vegas. The same way I look at the top 4 in Florida, I look at the top 4 on D in Vegas, and I look at 4 guys who nobody's getting by. Huge guys, great puck movers, and now having the extra year out of Hannafin, who was like a acquisition last year. You know, everything's kind of solid there and in place, and I think they know how to win. And we're gonna have Vegas, Florida once again, based on right now.
Vegas to me has the biggest flux in terms of their first round opponent, because right now it's Colorado. What did I do to deserve that? Mm-hmm. It could end up being Dallas. What did I do to deserve that? Or you get like a floundering LA or Minnesota.
At least you play them when you're healthy, though. if you get Colorado or Dallas, right? You're playing them when you're at your healthiest.
God, they might even get the Oilers. It's crazy.
One thing I'll say
unpredictable.
Before I give you my answers, one thing I need again is I need a fourth year in a row of Edmonton, LA in the first round. Edmonton has won all three.
I don't.
And
I'm good.
The interesting thing about the Oilers is I think for LA, as much as LA's not, they lost 3 straight or whatever, the Oilers are gettable this year. They are gettable.
Feel like it, eh?
And LA is, I think their goaltending's better. I think I've been shocked at how good their defense and forward. It feels like they needed the right coach. They got the right coach.
Last year, the Oilers got hot at the right time. This year, not so much.
They're getting cold at the wrong time.
Yes.
Yep.
And they're like, I think that could be so much fun to see that again. I'd love to see that. One thing I'm gonna say is that I think Colorado, because they've been so itchy all season long in terms of how many trades they've made, if they make no moves from here on out, they've completely remade this franchise.
No chance.
You don't think they're going to win the cup?
Blow the doors off.
Oh no, I know, but I think Colorado's going to be. They're my favorite coming out of the West because of. Think about what Colorado had to overcome the first month of this season. There was like 9 guys out, right? And
it's insane.
And they're
Very
still
impressive.
struggling, or they might pass Minnesota, who had the second hottest start of the year outside of Winnipeg. I think Colorado is a sleeping giant. I think people forget, and of course you would forget. You have lives and families, and why would you remember what the Avalanche were like in October? Who cares? I think the Colorado Avalanche are pretty darn spectacular. I'm blown away by the mentality. I know Casey Middlestat might get moved or whatever. Doesn't matter. This is a no-move cup prediction. I think Colorado's got it in the West. I do. And I think it's because they've done it. And I'm also deferring to Jesse on this one a little bit because he picked 2 teams that have been to the finals recently, and I think that matters, right? We're seeing that how much, once you've done it, you can do it, so why don't you do it again? And as much as I'm excited for hopefully a Florida-Tampa first round, I think that it's difficult. I know I want Toronto to be in that conference final, but if it can't be Toronto, it's going to be Florida-Washington. And I think the Panthers have the edge on that too. And it's not because Washington's not great. It's because Florida's got an entire team of guys that have been there 2 years in a row. You just have a mental edge. You just do.
You have to
assume Kachuk's healthy too.
Which I don't think you can ever assume.
No, because of the way he plays, right?
Well, okay. Man, that guy will play through anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's admirable. Played through a broken sternum. How'd he do? Was he good?
No.
Was he good? Did the team
broken sternum?
I think he scored a goal.
Yeah, but
overall, how did it go? How much did he play?
Not much.
Oh, he was injured in the gold medal game for the United States. How much did he play?
5 minutes.
It was like 6.
Yeah.
Maybe he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like, just because he's going to be there and he's this gamer and he's this electric personality and everything. Listen, healthy Matthew Tkachuk is going to fuck you up. I'm gutting through it. Matthew Tkachuk might not be on the ice all that much. There's a huge difference between there's a huge variable here. What we might get. Not going to be in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Dude who gives you 5 minutes. Dude who gives you 20 minutes of pure gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are you getting? You have no idea.
I wonder, too, with the Eastern Conference, with Jack Hughes being out, I wonder if the Devils fall off a little bit. I know that it's a huge spread for the New York Rangers to try to squeak in there, but it would be fun to see another New York-Carolina series like we had.
Ooh,
so
I like that one.
It could be fun. I don't know. But yeah.
I'm trying to look. So the Avs goalies that they currently have,
mm-hmm.
Wedgwood and Blackwood.
Yeah.
They have a combined record of 22, 11, and 2. The guys they don't have anymore were 14, 8 plus 13 and 0.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big difference. I'm amazed they had a record above 500, to be honest. So that's Trent Miner, Alexander Georgiev, Justus Annunen, and Capo Caco. Most of whom I forgot were ever Avs. They're not the same team, eh? Like, not even kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm in the West and I'm one of the top teams, I'm like, oh my God, can they please climb? Can they please climb so I don't have to play them in the first round? Fuck. Like, that's so unfair.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, going into a new relationship, perhaps it's trade deadline in your relationship life, and you've decided, am I going to commit to this player, to this person?
Are they going to commit to me?
Are they going to commit to me?
I hope I don't get traded.
Absolutely.
It'd be very stressful.
That would be a shame, right? That would be a shame.
Indeed.
How do you know what your relationship green flags are? There's a lot of red flag stuff out there, but how do you know this is the player that I want to commit to? This is a player that I want to have in my life, on my team.
That's important.
I think so.
You can't just look for the red flags.
Right.
What are my green flags?
That's right. It's like when you're telling someone directions to go someplace, you don't tell them where not to go. You say you got to go right.
Oh, right.
You don't say don't go left. You say go right.
It's a great point.
Right?
Tell you where you're not going. Left.
Sometimes we need a little bit of help with that. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists, BetterHelp can help you, and it's on your timeline and in any way that you want to connect. So you can do text, you can do FaceTime, you can do phone calls. And if you're not feeling the vibe with the therapist, you can switch. And usually that's in under 48 hours, which is awesome, especially for a lot of people that, sometimes therapy in the past was like, you'd wait like 6 weeks to find a new therapist. So give BetterHelp a shot. BetterHelp.com/STP to get 10% off your first month today. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SDP. So we were lucky enough to join Prime Monday Night Hockey on Monday. We did the opening segment. We did the intermission. They let us sit in the truck for a bit and watch them kind of do it. And it's kind of amazing. Just watching things from a truck, like just generally, is amazing.
It's maybe the only time I've ever had to explain anything in broadcasting to Adam.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, because I never learned that. I never went to television school. I went to radio school for a bit.
I got a little experience in the truck, and I've seen it professionally a handful of times.
And Jesse, you do too, right? Because you both.
Well, I worked when I worked at Tim and Sid, I would sit in the back row of a studio. The studio is just the truck is just a mobile TV studio,
right?
So yeah, like Dobby and Jason, they'd be up front doing all the hand pointing and stuff like that. Some of the best in the biz doing that sports content. So yeah, I'm familiar with the TV studio, the truck environment. Yeah.
It was very, very cool. I like just being in there.
I loved it.
It made me fall in love with live TV again. But what's great about this is the whole thing's an internet stream. It's not TV, but it's run like a TV.
It's TV.
And I think what was cool is that they were explaining some of the technology they have and the different camera angles that only Amazon has, and how they've built that segment before the game, right? Because initially they were just running like arena feed. And even that was cool. But what they've now gone on to do is they've added, sponsored segments, and they've added, John Forsling did a whole thing about how he grew up in Massachusetts and watched the Darryl Sittler 10-point game against the Boston Bruins and what that was like.
Talking to him.
So we got to talk to him.
What a privilege. Like, what a privilege.
Yeah.
What a treat. He's telling me and Adam about some line brawl he saw.
So basically he was telling us, we said, like, where'd you get your start? And that's what I asked him, basically, like, where did this all start? Because we got to see his notes, and he has his own
Klingon.
He has his own notepad or notebook that he starts at 5:30 every day on game day, like 5:30 a.m.
And completely illegible.
I'm like, what's that based on? He's like, oh, it's my own shorthand. And then he was talking about how he started and he was really like working in the AHL in the 80s. Yeah. And I said, so tell me, because I remember when we went and we had Steve Thomas on our team for Rachel's Raiders for the 5-6 years ago, he told us
2018
that one of the things he was freaked out about when he was a young kid was being sent down to the AHL, because the big fighters in the AHL, and there were a lot of them, they knew if you were a team's like hot scoring prospect, so they would target you.
Oh yeah.
And target you by being as dirty as humanly possible.
Oh yeah.
So I said, John, like, what was the AHL like in the 80s? And he proceeds to tell us about this fight that involved Claude Julien, Mark Crawford, and a couple other
Bruce Boudreau.
Bruce Boudreau was in there. And it was
there were like 4 NHL coaches.
25 minutes long, this fight was. One of the guys it was a line brawl, and it started with the coaches, and then on the benches, and then on the ice. And then one of the guys, and I forget which name it was, but he got hit his head.
No, he got knocked out with a headbutt.
Yeah. And then had to be brought into the dressing room. They bandaged him up, and then he was able to walk back out and start fighting again.
That's insane.
And that's insane. And he's like, you can look it up online. He's like, I sound like a child. He's like, it's like I hadn't even hit puberty yet, because he was quite young.
Which I can't imagine.
But talking to him, and we talked to him for 5 minutes, and we walked into their little like dressing room, and you could feel the energy from the whole crew. Thomas Hickey was there, Shane Knighty, Jody Shelley, who I am surprised anybody fought Jody Shelley ever. Like Jody Shelley,
he's huge.
It's not that he's tall; his shoulders are so wide that if he punched you with the right hand and then with the left hand, it would be like it's coming from another room. Like he's just this guy, and so I was soaking it all in, whatever. And then we got to sit in the truck, obviously. And what was very cool was while we were in the truck, we had no cell reception. So as soon as the segment ran, I leave the truck and I've got 65 text messages.
You sent me a video.
Oh yeah, this is what the truck looks like. By the way, that's Mark Askin with the silver hair there. And Steve, you worked with him at Leafs TV.
I did at Leafs TV. And by the way, shout out the dude who held up Hockey Rants and Raves right next to my head. I had no idea while we were actually doing the segment. And then he told me after, but I didn't see it until someone showed me a clip.
Is it signed?
It was already signed, and I signed it again. I've actually changed my autograph.
Signed recently. It again.
I've changed my autograph.
I did because it was too long. It was too long and shitty, and I got made fun of for it, so I changed it. Mark Askin, what a treat and what a privilege. Worked with him at Leafs TV and Sportsnet, but it was like, you know, what's it called? Chips in the night, like. I just didn't really work in his world. I was always digital, and sometimes they'd throw me on.
And back then, digital was just like, oh yeah, we give that to the kids who we don't pay very much to.
Yeah,
you know,
like I found myself in a few like meetings and discussions with him when I was like 21, 22, and he didn't just dismiss me or whatever. He always took what I had to say seriously. And if Amazon's looking for ideas, just show a live feed of Mark. All game long in the truck. Like, what a TV man. Mm-hmm. He's like J. Jonah Jameson, but not a dick.
Yeah. Well, so like, I'm looking for pictures of Spider-Man. Like,
get me pictures of Macklin Celebrini. We need an ISO cam on Macklin Celebrini and and just like Adam, I know you were just in awe. Of what he was able to do.
I didn't know how, like, when you direct cameras. So first off, they're all color coded, or they've got number codes, or they've got.
They have the color and then the cameraman or camerawoman's name.
Yes,
next to it.
And so there are certain cameras that are there to collect footage for replays, right?
Yeah, ISO.
And then there are certain and so they get into the opening segment like literally just wearing up, and he's like, I want an ISO cam on Celebrini the entire time.
Yep.
And then they did have a Celebrini segment, and the ISO cam had actually caught Celebrini and Will Smith, who are apparently best friends and joined at the hip, talking to each other on the ice, which was cool. And then there was if you go back and you watch it, because you can go watch it anytime, there's a shot of Matthews in warm-up fist bumping a kid through...
I think it was David Camp's kid.
It was David Camp's kid?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
And you hear Mark asking, going, this guy, you have to understand, like, this is like... Again, the most high energy person you've ever heard in your life. And he's like, that's a great effing shot. That's a great shot. We're coming back to that shot.
And just the stuff he sees, like you have to watch, it's like 30 or 40 screens.
Yeah.
And the stuff he sees, if you've ever watched a game and been like, I have a good eye for this. Like I don't miss a whole lot. I catch a lot of stuff. He's the reason you catch stuff. That's how unbelievably cracked his ability is.
He'll watch the game on several different screens, and he'll be like, that's offside, and then the ref will call it. Like he knows what's happening, and he knows which camera to go to. It's an insane way to watch. And what's crazy about this guy specifically, and is that he retired. And after 30-something years, and had a picture taken with Sheldon Keefe, and they gave him a jersey. The Leafs honored him. Yeah. And then Amazon's like, yeah, we're going to need you to not be retired. You got to come join us.
People in TV retire like professional wrestlers. They do it a few times.
Yeah. Does Amazon have money?
I think so. I think they might.
I think they might have paid him a pretty penny.
Yeah, I hope so, because he was, and so yeah, so it was just very cool, and I just wanted to say that their crew, from
What a
the get-go,
well-oiled
the on-air people, the people behind the scenes, they were so good to all three of us. I remember like when we got up to the cool zone for the intermission segment, Adnan Verk and Shane Knighty were so like, "Hey guys, like, all right, what are we?" And I asked the producer, I was like, "Do we need to like
Wear suits?
prep anything?" And they were like, "No, they'll just ask you questions and go." And what was mind blowing to me is they asked who the Leafs should trade for, and
We did not tell them.
we didn't tell them what our answer was going to be, and they had the highlight packs bang ready to go.
Right there. That's why you can hear me get thrown off. I'm like, Yanni Gord. And then they threw Yanni Gord up, and I went, bah. Because I didn't know it was coming. And
Yeah.
then you go, Brock Nelson, bah. It just jump scared us. But Adam, a few minutes before the segment, what was I doing that you had to tell me because I didn't know?
What do you mean? No, you got to tell me. I don't know what you're talking about.
So we had to put these earpieces in.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
my god.
Anyone listening to this right now, just try to talk out loud with your fingers in your ears, and you sound like you're underwater. And that's what it sounds like when you have the little earpieces in.
Like wearing AirPods.
So I'm talking to Adam. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to talk about Yanni Gord.
Oh, you're just
and how
yelling.
much? And I'm
Screaming.
He's like, Steve, you're shouting.
Because you're trying to hear your own voice.
I didn't know because I couldn't hear me.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't stressed out at all, and I started to as soon as we sat down because Adnan and Shane are talking to us, and I can't hear them. And I realize I'm the only idiot with my two earpieces plugged all the way in. So I got to take it out so I can hear them. Right? And then once obviously we're on microphone and it's going to air, we can hear ourselves through the things. But yeah, I was shouting.
Yeah, it was great.
I was shouting because I'm stupid.
It would have been very funny if you went on TV like that, but I'm very happy you didn't.
That's a great question, Adnan. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've always hated the earpiece. I had to wear one for a little bit when I was
If you pull up that picture there, Matt, you can see it.
when yeah, there you go.
See right
When the Leafs had me on when I was with Leafs TV all those years ago. There was one episode, I don't know, it kept screwing up or something, so I had to just flick it off. I was like, they'll take the camera off me when I stop talking.
And now, wearing your glasses on TV.
Stupid idiot, I forgot. I was going to take them off.
I was going to say, is this a conscious decision based on the outfit or the stylistic choice? Because you don't need to wear them.
No, it was literally the opposite of a conscious decision. I told Adam, I probably shouted at Adam, I think I'm going to take my glasses off. And because I was, a nervous, silly boy, I forgot to take them off. And while Adam's talking about Brock Nelson, I'm not listening because I'm looking in the monitor and going, oh shit, my glasses are...
Whenever you wear your glasses, for me, it just reminds me of when because you don't wear them for on-camera stuff a lot, but it reminds me of when you did the Kyle Dubas bit.
And everybody said that
and
online.
you dress up as Kyle Dubas and you
Yeah.
wear your glasses, because that's the only time in my mind you wear your glasses, when you're trying to be Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, I know. Well, because I don't know, I want to be the most recognizable version of me.
Yes.
And that's not with glasses.
Yeah, so
like at
100%.
book signings, very often I just take them off. I don't want to picture Steve with those stupid glasses. So I take them off.
I just wanted to ask about that,
No,
because I
that's
saw
great.
you with them and I didn't know if it was like, it was a stylistic choice or something. No, you just
Literally an accident.
simply forgot.
Simply
That is
forgot.
simply Steve.
We're never going to know. That's
Stupid idiot.
Theme of this episode. We're never going to know about Steve.
One of the things that I think has been said about the Amazon broadcast is just generally, like, you feel like you can hear the crowd more, and that's because they have upgraded the mic. So for their broadcast, they've bought better mics. And I actually noticed it at the desk, too. If you go back and you listen, and this is super nerdy, the voice, the way a voice comes through doesn't sound like a microphone on those broadcasts like it does on so many others. And it's because they've invested in a lot of like higher end equipment, some stuff that they told us about that I don't even know if I can share, but they have some crazy instant replay stuff. They have angles that only the Amazon broadcast has because they invested in it.
What about the screen that had every single player on both rosters and it tells you which one is on the ice?
Yeah, so this is nuts. So for warm up, there was a roster list of all the players.
Yeah.
And
Everyone in green.
everyone in green. And then as I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then as players started to leave, they started to turn red. And so those little strips that the NHL players have in the back of their jerseys, that's it tells the truck and tells the league who's on the ice and who isn't.
Yeah, it's the same technology that the NHL Edge uses with the little dots going around. It's the same
It's
stuff.
so cool.
It's so they just have access to it.
Yeah.
And they've utilized it in that way.
I was wide-eyed. I felt like I was like 22 again. Just blown away by the whole thing. It was really like, I'm like, oh my God. And then I realized it's been 7 or 8 years since I did any like live television, like on a TV channel.
And just like the minutia.
Yeah,
Outside of like you do hits sometimes on like global news.
Yeah, yeah.
That's TV.
Yeah, that is live TV. You're right. Okay.
And they do that live.
Yeah. I guess in
I think you did one like last week.
Yeah, global's like just do it from home. Like,
Right.
like for
It doesn't
like
feel
in
the
a
same.
studio.
Yeah, and like I did my mom's show and that was live, but like it's a little bit different when you're like when it's not a family member. Pretty safe environment, the Maryland Dennis show
Sure.
for me. Like it was like, yeah, we all know why you're here.
Adam, it's because you're talented. and
yeah,
also handsome.
right.
No, just the minutia. Like, so they had the Celebrini ISO cam, obviously. I think a few different Leafs had ISO cams. Then Matthew Nyes got high sticked and it was behind the play, and it didn't get called. So they're like, all right, prep that replay. But then play kept going for a few minutes without a whistle. And I don't know if they ever ended up showing it. I think something else happened. And they're like, okay, prep that replay so that we can roll it. And holy shit. Like a very specific type of person has to do that job.
Yes.
I would shiver and melt and die.
And for the guys that are doing the calling the game and color, you just can't believe how complicated it is, because I remember the first couple shifts of the game, there was a Nick Robertson play where he had a steal and took the puck into the offensive zone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Mark Askin was like, he's like, Hicks, like Hickey, Thomas Hickey, we're gonna do a Robertson spotlight here. And then they just fired the replay, and Thomas Hickey's like, okay, we're going to have a look at Nick Robertson here, blah, blah, blah. And he saw the play, knew what Mark was talking about, and was able to narrate over the slow-mo video of what Nick Robertson had done. And that is an art. That's not easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
He's grabbing everything that's going on in the play, and then he doesn't get to see the replay beforehand. Go. That was cool.
Forsland doesn't sit.
No, he stands the whole time.
He stands for like 2.5, 3 hours.
And leans over.
Yep.
And
he's tall.
The cool thing was Jesse let Steve and I come and sit with him in the press box afterwards.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks,
You're
Dad.
welcome.
And so we got to hang out with Jesse, and David Alter was there, and CJ was there. It was great. But you could hear John Forsling in the box over, like play calling as the play's happening.
Well, we were actually sitting right below the Sharks broadcast.
Yeah.
And
John was out dueling them in terms of volume.
yes, but you could he score. I don't remember who was doing the play-by-play, but Jason Demers. It's all game long. I was like, who the frig is that? I know who that is, and I figured out it's Jason Demers. They're doing the play call, and I look up, and he's just like fist pumping,
When they won an overtime.
jacked that the Sharks.
Yeah.
And no, it was like even before that. I didn't have the heart to look up at him after the Leafs lost. But just.
It's
God,
a very
I
cool
love
thing
that,
that they
man.
got going on over there. I just wanted to say that.
Extremely cool.
Big thanks to Amazon, and big thanks to you guys for all the positive messages. Shall we do the press conference?
Yes, we shall.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
I was going to go in a different direction, but you brought up the little strips that the NHL players wear in their jerseys and how much technology they use from that.
Yep.
Like there's so many different things, like the technology that the teams have themselves, just based on all of the puck tracking and the data tracking that they have on the players. It's crazy, and we're only seeing like a sliver of it on the consumer end. Like NHL Edge is a thing that's been around for 2 seasons now, and it's still barely. Like it's not even like usable in the sense of like content more really.
The goal tracking's great.
The goal tracking is great, but in terms of like the skating stuff, like it's not organized in a way that we're really using it all the time. But it's great. It's great stuff. But off of that, the NFL made a decision for this upcoming season that when there is a line to gain issue, when somebody's trying to make a first down, they're going to use technology to determine whether a ball is a first down or not.
Really? So
So-
we don't have to keep freaking checking.
So-
they'll just know.
The chain gang has been eliminated.
Wow.
They are doing it all through technology. So
So those guys running along the.
they are now backup.
Did the
So-
NFL get rid of linesmen?
So, Ad, since you brought up the technology that the NHL players have, and the NFL is moving completely virtual line challenges, line to gain with the ball, can you discuss why the NHL has chosen not to use this for things like offside or onside or good goals or not good goals?
I can unplug my mic and go home. This is Adam for the next 15 minutes.
Because other leagues are proving that you can simply just do it.
You know what? Tennis has proven it for 15 years. It's crazy. So is soccer. VAR exists. It's crazy.
Yes, which is tennis is a lot easier to do. We'll admit that. It's
Yep.
literally the ball and the line. It's easy. But now here's a sport where there's 12 guys or 11 guys on each side. There's a ball that can be under like 10 humans at a time.
And it's chaotic.
And it's an egg shape. And the line to gain it's just there.
It can bounce. There's a whole bunch of
nothing
things.
on the ground that says this is the line. It's all got to be virtual. And they are saying that we have the technology to do it.
Now, so first off, when radio really mattered for new music.
He's starting at when man invented the wheel.
Listen to me. You don't listen to these two. You
So
listen
God
to me.
didn't
you listen,
work
don't
on the
listen to the
seventh
peanut
day?
gallery. Do not listen to them. Okay. They're trying to
we-
derail my point
Steve,
already.
We can leave for 30 minutes. Let's go.
All right.
So radio used to be.
I'll hear you from the other room.
Radio used to be a place where people went for new music because it was the only place they could hear it. It's like, when there was no YouTube, there was no Spotify, people would go to radio stations and go, what's the new song? And there were certain radio stations that played more new music and they were called Top 40 because they played the songs in the Top 40. And then there were some stations that played a little bit of gold mixed in with some new, and they were called whatever. They're called boring. And when I started,
To clarify, the question was, why does the NHL still have linesmen?
just listen. This makes
No,
sense.
no.
So when I was getting into radio, though, what they realized was, hey, people can buy songs on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
They can listen to them on YouTube, right? Even if they're put there illegally, YouTube had a ton of illegal shit back in the day. It was all illegal shit.
And none now.
And zero now. And so I remember we used to be on our program directors, especially when I was like going to the clubs every weekend. And I remember when Pitbull had this song, it was called Cayocho. Turned into a #1 hit, but it was a club hit first. And I remember telling my boss, you have to play this fucking song. Like, this song is huge. You wouldn't believe the reaction. And he's like, his attitude was, no, we don't. Let's let our competitor down the street play it a bunch of times and warm the song up, and then we will pick it up. And what you do is you used to let a song sit for 2 to 3 weeks as it rose in the charts, let your competitor play new and unfamiliar music, let them screw it up, because certain songs, if they were too aggressive on them, would be songs that would be tune-out songs or songs that never quite hit where they should be to make your radio station. And the reason I'm saying this is letting another league warm up a technology and then taking it and using it in yours is what the NHL does. So the NHL is letting the NFL, which is a bigger league with more money at stake, go, let's let them refine that, and then we'll take that and we'll use that. And Gary is not about to institute that kind of technology with like 18, 20 months to go in his career as commissioner, right? That can be the next guy's problem. Now, one place I have an issue with this, just one place. Fine, keep the linesman. Fine, keep the your offside recall, whatever, review annoying as hell, boring as shit. Fine. What drives me nuts is that the technology for goal line review has existed since the beginning of time. This is not hard. You can do
That's
it.
an exaggeration.
It's not. It's been
Gross exaggeration.
minimum 20 years. You could have done this.
Yeah.
And so when you get into the playoffs and a goalie very clearly covers a puck, pulls it back out of their net,
Sergey!
and
Haven't forgot.
and there's no distinctive view over top of what happened in the play.
Morgan Riley scored in game
You
5.
should be able
Scored in game 5.
should be able to right now to know if the puck went in or not. You should
Riley was
should have that. You should have that technology. That's my issue. Offsides I can handle for a few more years. I hate it, but whatever. I'm 37. I got this far. I'll be fine. The goal review stuff.
You're still 36.
It should be that the green light that goes off or the red light that goes off behind the net. That should be instant. That should be. I don't even need to. I don't want to even look at the ref. I don't need the ref to do this when they score. I need
How else would you know?
the computer. This is what I'm saying. That is my issue. That is my only issue. So there's my rant. It's not even really a good rant. It's just you could solve this problem tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could solve this by the playoffs.
And
It's done.
It doesn't work like with a chip in the puck or anything like that. It works with cameras. They're called Hawkeye technology is what the NFL is using. There's a crazy amount of cameras all over the arena or the stadium, and they create a 3D environment of the ball, and then it's synced with where the first down line is. And there's no reason that the NHL can't do the same thing, and they do it in poo-poo. They do poo-poo it in other situations where because the technology on the puck exists, like the little dots. If you've ever caught an NHL puck or purchased an NHL puck or had one that's been used on ice, there are I think 6 or 8 little dots on it. That is the technology that the cameras are using right now to mimic the Hawkeye technology that they're not using for things like is it a goal or not, but they use it in other ways.
Yeah,
And
but
if you
not
keep
that way.
those pucks, they can bug your house.
No.
That's what they're asking you to do. They want you to bring it home so they can steal your email.
Oh,
So
another one
I think
found
you
its
got to
way
get
over
a
the glass.
little bit more creative, probably with the NHL side of things, where you need a couple more cameras inside of the net. But there is already a camera inside of the net,
And Jess,
so you're not doing too much here.
the crazy thing is if they can track your car via GPS, they can put a thing in your god darn puck. And by the way, there are chips in every puck now. We've seen that. We had that debate. And somebody sent us a picture
And I
of the
thought
inside of a puck.
I thought it was fake.
And
And even though I've seen evidence that it's real, I say it's fake. It's
We're talking about-
2025. I
we're
do what I
talking about
want.
the dots, though.
the dots,
The dots aren't chips.
No, but
they're
you could do that.
reflection points for the camera.
There is room for a chip, though, right?
Sure.
And here's the other thing. Okay, fine. If you want to just leave it at cameras, why are there not cameras just a little above in that padded section, the inside of each post?
Yes,
This way.
I 100%.
So across the
don't
goal line.
understand that.
So if I'm a post and you're a post looking at me in the camera, why is there not camera like low as possible? Done.
Yeah.
For the same
You
reason.
can do 3 all the way up.
For the same reason none of us drive a Bugatti. It's money.
You could put
That would be
cameras
so cheap.
in every,
Oh, it's cheap.
You could put cameras in every post. Like you put in the crossbar, put
Build
it
it
on the
right
post.
into the metal.
Cameras are so tiny these days.
Oh, they're cheap. No,
No,
they
Steve,
don't
it
want to
can't
do
even
it.
be that. You're talking cameras that are, you know what? You don't even need that. Maybe a garage door sensor. You know how you have
Right. The laser.
That's all we
line.
need. That's all we need.
I don't know. Then the goalie might just be
Oh, yeah.
kicking it a little.
All I'm saying is it's not
Well,
that
they
hard.
shouldn't have.
Not that
shouldn't have.
freaking hard.
Yeah.
So
I think it's pretty hard.
anyway, we'll leave it at that.
I thought it
Did I wreck the whole show by doing that?
No, that's what we wanted. That's why we brought it up, or I brought it up.
It's
for
just-
that conversation.
Wreck the
So
whole
easy.
show.
It's so easy. Is there any other questions you want to get to?
Yeah, we can get to a question from Discord.
From Steve Dangle. Has anyone been traded in the last 20 minutes?
No.
Okay.
I'm so glad we got VTech Vanacek. I'm so glad that we were all here together.
Yeah, the Dangle jinx broken.
Imagine it is VTech that breaks it, and all the trades break during our show now.
Son of a...
All right. Python 3504 had an unfair hypothetical, but we will do it.
What's your hypothetical,
If the Leafs somehow pulled off a trade for Rantanen, when the playoffs are over, are you signing Marner or Rantanen?
Both.
No, you get one. That's the game.
Nope. No, fuck your
So
The game is you get one. Who you picking?
I'll start with this. Here's the thing. Obviously there's a lot hinging for Mitch and for the Leafs on Marner's playoff performance. There's no question this is the best season he's ever played. It's the best hockey he's ever played.
Yeah.
He was big in the championship game for Team Canada, so I have every reason to believe he's going to be big for the Leafs in the first and second and third and fourth rounds on their way to the Stanley Cup this year. But there has to be something. There's something to be said for we know what we have.
Yeah.
And as much as Mikko Rantanen is a great player, I've seen him win a cup, absolute monster. You're seeing what happens when a player gets moved. Now, I get it's in season and that the player's heartbroken and was completely caught off guard.
Yep.
But you're seeing what happens in Carolina when you just don't know if a player is going to fit or not. And it is a lot of money to give a guy who has never played here, doesn't know the pressures, doesn't know the system. I'm not saying Mikko Rantanen can't figure it out, and I'm not saying Mikko Rantanen... I'm not even going to say that Mikko Rantanen isn't the better player. There will be plenty of debates about that.
He's a better player in the playoffs.
I'm going to say these two guys are both fabulous hockey players. Mitch knows what it's like to play here. He can handle it. And the Leafs organization and him are familiar with each other. I think there was tension last year. I think there's been a few Darren Ferris leaks. They
were doing so well.
But basically what they've left it at is they've kept the negotiations quiet. We know there have been some talks. I think you go with what you know. I think Mitch is having a kid. I think he wants to set up his life. I think you got to have. I think you go with the person that you know, and I don't want to say the devil you know because we're the Leafs. But I think you go with the person that you know, and I don't have even now, and I know how I felt after Game 7 last year and how upset I was with everybody's performance, but I think Mitch was one of them. I would have no problem handing him that $100 million contract right now. Zero doubt in my mind it would be worth it.
That's 12.5.
Yeah, and I think 12.5 to 13.5 is probably what he's coming in at. Especially if you want an 8-year deal, there's no guarantees that he does. We haven't heard length of term. I would not be shocked if he signed for 3 years.
What was killer? I wouldn't be surprised by that either. What was killer is he signed for 10.9 or whatever it was, 10.893 for not even his number. And we're like, well, everyone's gonna join him though in that weight class of contracts.
Yeah,
especially Mikko Rantanen, and then he super didn't.
Yeah,
he really didn't.
Yeah,
that's not happening this time. Draisaitl makes was it 14 or 14.4? I can't remember.
I'll look it up
from that time we screwed it up. For at least 14 mil,
and he's worth it.
Yeah. The highest paid player in the league has gone up. It's going to go up 3 consecutive years, and it's probably going to be 4. 12.6 with Nate.
13.5 with Matthews.
2.5.
Oh, yeah.
14 with Leon, and then McDavid, whatever he ends up saying.
Leon is $8.5 million, actually.
No, yeah.
$14 million flat.
Right.
And then so it's going to go up this year with Mikko and Mitch, and then it'll go up the next year with Connor.
To me, a few months ago, I think my answer was easy. It would have been Mikko. I'd go with Mikko. But Marner has been bigger this season. He thrived at the Four Nation faceoff, and Mikko Rantanen has picked a hell of a time to go on the coldest streak of his last few years.
Yeah. But I don't think you're making the call based on the last couple of weeks of Mikko Rantanen's career.
No,
because I certainly am not.
You're making it based off of that Marner's in a very unique situation. This is a crisis in most other places. And if he leaves, I think most people will understand. If the Leafs let him walk, I think most people will understand. If he gets brought back, I think most people will understand. The one thing people won't understand is if the Leafs stink in the playoffs again, don't make it out of the first round again, he gets brought back, gets a huge raise, and nothing changes.
Yep.
That'll be the one thing that I don't think anyone likes. What everyone wants here, including Mitch, is the Leafs have a nice deep run. And because of that, he stays. That's what everyone wants. If they stink again, that's when the conversation gets cloudy.
So, Jesse, what are your thoughts on that? I got to know what you think.
I thought that was a lot of fun.
No, I got to
think
know.
you guys summarized it
I
really
want
nicely.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Like I think it's if you're sticking with the guys, you don't know what's happening in the playoffs. You go with Mitch Marner because he's been here, and then it hinges on like what happens in the playoffs is how much money he gets or if he actually comes back. So
Right.
yeah. No. I think it's good.
Worth noting that 30 minutes ago, the NHL fined Devils head coach Sheldon Keefe $25,000 for unprofessional conduct directed at officials late in Sunday's game, and this is where Jack Hughes, I believe, was tripped and hit the thing, and then his shoulder. We think
That was Jack Eichel.
and
Jack Hughes.
it went uncalled, and I believe Wes McCauley was the ref.
He was the ref. Wes McCauley is the one who kicked out Sheldon Keefe, which is unsurprising,
And that
noting their
is,
history.
I want to say the second time Keefe has been fined for an incident with Wes.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking that we're at the point now where the NHL should just be smart and not put Wes and Keefe in the same game.
Yeah.
Dude, in the NBA, whenever I see Chris Paul and Scott Foster on the court at the same time, I'm like, who thought this was a good idea?
It's like Kelly Sullivan and the Canucks in the playoffs. They're like 0-12. Like I don't know.
Wow.
At what point do you go? That's not bad luck anymore.
Damn. That's very.
They don't. There might be a. And listen, you go to the ref and you go, "Hey, are you biased against this team?" What are they going to tell you?
People.
Or are you biased against this player? Are you biased against this person? Guys, these are human beings. It might even be unconscious bias. But the reality is that things are a little slanted one way, right?
I mean,
Little weird.
Whenever a ref is mic'd up, they're like swearing at a player.
Yep.
So I have a hard time like, Sheldon's conduct was unacceptable. I still remember the first HBO documentary with the Leafs. It was the Leafs and Red Wings, but it was a game between the Leafs and the Penguins. Zach something Zolnarchuk, I can't remember. He was like an agitator on the Pens at the time. He's going at it with Phaneuf. And the ref, off the face-off, goes, you know what? Fuck both you guys. To the box. Yeah, no, but Sheldon Keefe's unprofessional. You're right. It's okay. No, you just told the Leafs captain, fuck you.
different.
It's okay.
different.
I'm sure it's fine.
Jesse?
Button
time. All right, so here's what's going to happen. New CJ show tomorrow. SDP will be back all day for reaction videos to all the trades or lack thereof. And obviously a brand new show at the end of the day on Friday. So we'll see you then. Also VIP Friday morning.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at AdamWYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.